Greetings, everyone. Christopher J. here with another story for Gnomes Newcomers, where we continue to find the real reason why people are moving to South Dakota. And I am absolutely beyond mind-blowing stage when I just talked to our guest for this segment, Paul, and about why he moved here from the state of California. Because there's a lot of misperception out there about people leaving California and moving to red states. We're going to clear that up in a hurry. But first of all, I want to welcome Paul to Gnomes Newcomers. It's an honor to be with you here. And above all, Navy,
Yes,
thank you for your service.
you're welcome.
I'd be remiss, yes.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Glad you're here. So Paul, I got to just jump right in. Off camera, before you shared a really great story with your wife about you guys just packing up the camper and going for a trip, and you came across South Dakota as part of that trip, and kind of the rest is history. Can you tell us about that, please?
Yes, well, so I was a Navy SEAL for 26 years, retired, and 100% disabled, so I can't work. Anyway, that's just, so my wife, Holly, she said, hey, let's load up our 4 dogs and our teenage son into our camper, and let's drive across the country and go see the United States and all the history and things like that.
From San Diego.
From San Diego, yes. So we did that, we loaded out, we headed out, and ended up, cutting through Nevada and then Utah and up through Montana and then over to here. And we stayed down in Custer, one of the campgrounds down there, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. The Black Hills, just everything about it was just amazing to me. And and the governor, because we started learning about what she was all about. And then we continued on our trip all the way to, we went about as far east as Illinois and Kentucky and then Tennessee, and then we headed back along the southern route. And through each state we went to, my Holly would start Googling stuff and looking things up, about the VA and what kind of things the state offered for disabled veterans and things like that, and taxes and all that. And so, she, as I'm driving, she's giving me a little report on each little state that we're going through. And so we get back to San Diego after literally about 3 months. And I sit down on the couch and I said, well, I guess I'm just going to sit here, because that's all I was doing, because you can't do anything in California, literally. And so she said, well, where do you want to go? And I said, Rapid City. So she bought me a plane ticket and started talking with a realtor, and I flew up here. We bought a lot, and then that was in September, and then the next year in April we moved up here.
Paul, that's amazing. Let me just back up a step here. How long had you lived in San Diego?
30 years.
30 years. So your trip, which sounded like kind of a getaway and let's go see part of the country, actually kind of turned out to be, I guess while you guys were traveling, a look at maybe where you wanted to move to get out of San Diego. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that's a great segue to my next point that I want to talk to you about, because it's so important, and this is a great message. Why did you want to get out of San Diego and California? I mean, I could probably write a 10-page essay in about 5 minutes with you about that, but tell our viewers.
Well, it is a communist state. You can say that, or people can say that, and they're like, oh yeah. But to understand the restrictions of California and the freedom we have here in South Dakota is night and day. Literally, when they try to control how much water usage you have per day, they're controlling your electricity usage per day. It's just you can't water your lawns. You can't do this. You can't do that. It's all can't. And then you have to buy an electric vehicle, but you can't charge it. So it's just crazy. And why people don't see it. Some people they can't wrap their mind. They're like, oh, this is okay. It's not so bad. I even have a friend of mine. she's like, oh, I still like it here. And I was, really? Come on, Sarah. You and your kids get out of there. Move out.
It's amazing what someone can get used to, sadly.
Oh, yeah.
You look at California and everything that you do is controlled. How you think is controlled. And with this recent barrage of FBI invasions into people's homes with a one-sided justice system in this country, and California is leading the way. This is not the United States of America anymore. No. It really isn't. People need to wake up. So Paul, you were telling me before with your wife Holly, you guys call this the United States of South Dakota. Because tell us why now. Tell us how, I guess I should say, this is a refreshing breath of fresh air for you two to be in this state compared to California.
Well, we're kind of big on self-reliance, doing things ourselves and being able to make the choices we want to make. And so that freedom is here. It isn't in California. It isn't in Washington and Oregon, and Idaho's going away too. And it's getting so bad. And eastern Montana is getting pretty woke itself. So we have our little pocket of freedom here that we really need. And just a quick story. So when we came through here, we got South Dakota driver's licenses, and we went back to California, and I like to take my son shooting. So we went to a range, and I said, yeah, I need to buy a couple boxes of ammunition. And the guy's like, can I see your driver's license? And I said, sure. I throw down my driver's license. And he goes, oh, I can't sell you ammunition. I said, why? And he goes, because you need a California ID. And I said, well, I've bought guns here. I've bought ammunition here. I've used your range quite a bit. And I'm retired military, but I can't buy I can't buy 2 boxes of ammunition because of that license. He said, yes. And I said, so an illegal alien who can get an ID there in California, get a driver's license. I said, they can come in here and they can buy ammunition, but I can't.
It's the same illegal alien that doesn't have to wear a mask or get tested for COVID. It's just one hypocrisy.
Yeah.
That is an amazing story because, Paul, I think your story with your family is a huge wake-up call for this country.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to thank you again for joining us here on Gnomes Newcomers and telling that, because that is a humongous wake-up call. Governor Gnome, you're glad to be here with her. She's an amazing governor. What do you like the best about hanging out, being in the state with such an awesome, patriotic American governor?
Gosh, it's hard to say one thing but I tell my wife Holly all the time. I said I've never been so happy in my life, and that's just being here in this state, living free. And we went out to Deadwood on the 4th of July, and she goes walking by us, and my wife Holly goes out and grabs her, and she came over and she gave me a big hug and thanked me for my service. And I said, no, thank you for being our governor.
That's great.
I said, it makes such a big difference. And if you haven't lived outside of the state, you can't understand it. It's hard. You can't even wrap your mind around how constricting and every other place is.
Nice to have a governor who really actually cares for the country, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Compared to what you had in California? Again, wake up America, right, Paul? I mean,
if I ever met Gavin Newsom, I'm sure he wouldn't even shake my hand. No. She gave me a big old hug.
Yeah, it's amazing.
She's a wonderful person. Wonderful.
Yeah, she really is. And thank you again so much for sharing your story.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. And best to you and your family for settling here in South Dakota. We're right there with you. Well, there you have it, folks. Another episode of Gnomes Newcomers. It's tyranny or freedom. It's your choice. And we'll see you again soon with another installment of Gnomes Newcomers, preserving America right here in South Dakota.